What's up, everybody? It's your boy Bill Forster coming to you. Happy Wednesday. I hope everybody's had a beautiful day. I did for the most part. God is good. I'm alive. I'm blessed. I can't knock it. So I will say I did have a great day. Like always on Wednesdays, I have my partner in crime, Kevin Branzetti, in the building. What's up, Kev? Yeah, unmute yourself.
I forgot you muted me here. Hey,
How-
good evening.
how's your day going, man?
I can't complain.
Good,
Still
good.
breathing.
Exactly. That's what we do, right, bro?
That's it.
So, everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. In this segment, of course, Kevin and I we talk about a lot of police stuff. Last week we had Barbara Wilson on. I think I'm just going to make sure I said her last name correct.
Yeah.
She gave us an insight into what it's like to be sex trafficking, child abuse, uh, prostitution, use of drugs. If you want to look at that episode, please go back to Real Talk Chronicles on YouTube. We are YouTube live right now. We are Facebook live. We are in this conversation. We are about to get it in. I ask you all, out of support and love, if you like what you hear, share it, pass it along, because this is what Real Talk is about. And this is about unity and community doing what we do. What's up, Junior Blake in the building? Shout out to the 2A people. You got to get triple double too. Yeah. Yep, exactly. Blake, one day we're gonna bring you in on some conversation. Hey Laurie, how are you? So Kev, let me ask you a question. Let's get in. Tell the little man that we said hello.
Come here, little guy. He's they'll never come on.
He's shy, being shy.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Give me 10 seconds.
go ahead.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Talk to him. Hey Barbara, how are you? How's it going? Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. Kevin is having his wonderful child converse with him and talk daddy son stuff. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's the beautiful thing about what we're doing. Sometimes the kids got to just come in and talk to you and say hi and hello, right? Kev, what's that cup say?
Oh, you saw it.
I just want to make sure everybody says it because that's going to be a question that I'm going to ask you tonight too. I don't know.
I'd start off with a little,
a little fire. Yeah, a little
yeah.
fire. I'm coming with a little fire. We're gonna talk about the Breonna Taylor thing. I don't know if you've heard about the AG and one of the jurors coming out speaking and saying that murder charges or things of that magnitude were not offered to them. I don't know. I think I sent you some stuff, some information in regards to the interview that Kenny Walker, Breonna's boyfriend, had with Gayle King on Channel 2. Did you get a chance to see it? Okay. Well, Kevin's working hard, everybody out there. I think I asked him to see it when he gets a chance because I think it's a very telling interview. Recently, the sergeant in the case just did an interview. I have some of the interview. But before I go to the interview, I have one question, and I want Kevin to answer and give some people the insight. For those out there who don't know already, Kevin and I are both retired NYPD officers. Kevin retired as a sergeant, retired as a detective. We work together in the 2A precinct. Shout out to the mighty 2A in the building, for all our 2A brothers and sisters in the building. Shout out to all our law enforcement people that are in the building that come in and chime in, that ghost watch and just, come in the group. Appreciate you. I see you, Phil. Lori, what's happening? What's up, Earl, Sonia? I see you all. Thank you. Appreciate you for all coming in, saying what's up, and hanging out with us. I have a question, Kevin. A lot of times people don't have a ideology, and maybe you can speak of this mentality of what it's like to when somebody says, I bleed blue. Or discuss what they mean when they say they bleed blue.
Well, I guess because I've said the phrase several times, Phil. That's a good question for me. It means I am going to be a member of NYPD in my heart and soul to the day I die. It is, what I care about. It was a major part of my life. I'm still in law enforcement. I've retired from NYPD. I'm in another smaller department now, but that being a cop is just part of who I am. So that's what, to me, it means bleeding blue.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Can you give us some insight on a mentality of a person that give us this insight on a mentality of a person that I'm going to use the word buff, but somebody that is just all about blue. Just give us some insight on their ideology. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't know about their ideology, but a buff is somebody who just really just like the police department. It's their entire life, right? It is. We used to work with somebody in the 2-8, and I won't name the sergeant's name, but we used to call him Buffy, right? And he would buy any sort of new gadget, new toy, anything related to law enforcement, and he knew the answer to almost any question you had about law enforcement, and he was a good guy, right? Heart and soul in the right place. There are those kinds of buffs.
Good, thank you. I appreciate that. Give me some insight on. Shout out to Kenny Stella in the building. Shout out to Mighty 2-8 in the building. I see you, Lou Collins. What's up, my good brother? Celia, I see you, sister. How you doing? Phil J in the building. Give the listening audience some insight into what it's like, why there's so much discrepancy between blue people that wear the uniform, or a lot of cops for the most part. And I'm not going to say I'll speak up for the black officers unless they want to chime in, because when you see the retirees speak up now, there's still a big discrepancy right now, because it seemed like the retirees, majority of them have gone, and shout out to my Latin officers or white officers that speak up, that have gone back to, I'm going to say, being black first instead of blue. And they speak up in lieu of what's happening out here in the world today. Can you give me some insight, your own personal feelings, of course, on what you think, why there's such a discrepancy between officers' mentality in lieu of they call them liberals, lefts, whatever you want to call them. Just can you give us some insight, your own personal insight on what you feel about that?
Why between the law enforcement and the left there's a current battle today?
Yes.
Well, who started it, right? Is it the chicken or the egg? And
right.
I don't know if I know about the why, right? I think why is misperceptions on things. Mm-hmm. We don't talk. We ain't doing what we're doing right now, Bill. That's probably the biggest cause of it all. What the public understands about law enforcement is from the news and television shows. Mm-hmm. And what cops understand about the community they work in, isn't from learning from the community they work in. So neither side is kind of talking or missing the point. And the top being it off is, I don't see a leader out there at any level who is trying to work with that and bring people together. I don't see a mayor, governor, president, senator, congressman, you name an elected official, and I'll tell you they're not doing their job.
Why do you think that is?
I think for some crazy reason, people think they have to take a side. It's either I'm with cops and law enforcement or the enforcement of laws, or I'm with the community, and that's a tremendous mistake.
Yeah, I think you and I are two individuals that, I mean, I don't say I bleed blue. I support blue. How can I not? I was a police officer, and I was proud to protect and serve. But I always differentiate between my ethnicity and my profession, because my profession I chose, my ethnicity I didn't choose. It was God given. And I mean, I think, like you say, you bleed blue, but I think you're one individual that kind of speaks up if you really do see something that you're not really happy with within law enforcement. And I appreciate you. And that's why I think we're here today. And I just want to let everybody know this is Real Talk Chronicles, and I appreciate you all chiming in. I see you, Lisa Davis. How are you, Collins? What's up, everybody that's chiming in? Scotty Rothman in the building. Scotty, I would always love for you to come in, man, and give your insight.
You call
Just
them out every week. You offer
Scotty,
them, not call them out. We offer them.
yeah. Scotty, anytime you want to come in, if you want to come in tonight, let me know. I'll send you the link. And that's for Lisa too, and whomever that wants to chime in and have some conversation with us. This is an open dialogue with Kevin and I, but right now tonight, Kevin and I, we're just going to talk about a bunch of things that are pertaining to what's happening in the world today, and we're trying to give you some insight into law enforcement ideology. What's up, Lucky? Always welcome. Shout out to my narcotics brothers in the building too. Lucky was in the building. Lucky always tells that story. He saw me slapping his cat up. He questioned the hand game, right, Luck? And I love when Lucky tells that story. So anyway, why do you think you alluded to saying that people feel like you have to choose sides? Why do you feel that law enforcement feels that if you don't take the side of blue, you're against blue?
Well, I mean, you got to take, if you're in law enforcement, not taking the side of blue is a tough call. It's also understanding that it's, I told you before, I disagree with there is a left and a right side of this. I think there is you could be on the side of blue, you could be on the side of the community, you could be on the side of just doing the right thing. It's not an easy stance.
What's the right thing to you when you say right thing?
You call it, you see it, right? Like once in a while, you got to say we effed up, that shouldn't have happened, right? We're not perfect. We're products of society. There's no special farm. They grow us upstate, and they have some like fairy dust and they sprinkle it on bodies as they grow and they have cops. All right. We just, me and you, Bill, we grew up in New York City. I grew up in Queens. You're from
Harlem. I'm a Harlem guy.
Right. We both had fathers who were cops.
Yeah.
My father was a cop in Harlem. You grew up in Harlem, right? And I was a cop in Harlem.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Shout out to Gerald Evans in the building. G Money, appreciate you. Big brother that took us under his wing when we came into 2-8. I always respect that and applaud that for the fact that I was so happy to go to 2-8 first. At one time, I got transferred over to 2-6 after the Dirty 30 situation. So they were just moving officers around, and I went over to the 2-6. And shout out to the 2-6. I met some good officers over there, but it was just a whole different mentality. The 2-8 was considered an A house, and the 2-6, of course, wasn't. But to any officer that's ever coming on this job and you want to work in it, you want to learn this job, please, I implore you to go to an A house. You learn the job so fast, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I don't implore anybody to become a cop today, and that's a sad state for me to say that.
Right.
But I'm with you, and if you're going to do it, go to a place that's busy and learn right.
Yeah, because you learn the paperwork, you learn the calls, the radio,
the people,
learn the streets, you learn everything. It is what it is. So you definitely learn. Let's talk about the Breonna Taylor thing recently. The sergeant just had an interview. I think he had it on Fox. I have some of the article here, and he says, supposedly he was shot by her boyfriend, Kenny Walker. I don't think that's been proven yet because he shot one time, and they haven't divulged. Ballistics has not said that came from his gun. So right now it's all about speculation. He got arrested for shooting the police officer, but the charges were dismissed. I think whatever kind of Kentucky law terminology is that they can revisit it later on, but the bottom line is I doubt they'll do that. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's normal. You can dismiss, if you dismiss charges on anybody, you can revisit it later on. It's still statute of limitations. Yeah. If it went into if you were acquitted, it's different. There's no revisiting. So they can go back.
Yes. So basically, I'm trying to read some of the captions. I just posted it for anybody that's watching. If you want to understand what I'm about to read, it's on my page. I'm not asking you to leave what we're talking about right now, but you can go back and check on it. But basically, what he said him and his fellow officers had gone to Taylor's apartment to serve a search warrant in a drug case that targeted her ex-boyfriend and had to defend themselves once they were fired upon. You want to do the right thing, Madeline said. You want to be the one who is protecting, not up here looking to do any damage to anybody's family. That's not anybody's desire that I've worked with. Mattingly, another officer, Miles Cosgrove, fired into the apartment from entry after Taylor's current boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, shot Mattingly in the leg. Walker said he thought an intruder had come through the door. Taylor was shot 5 times and died at the scene. A grand jury last month charged a third officer who also fired his gun with endangering Taylor's neighbors. Let me ask you about that. And, I'm going to stay right there. What do you think about that charge?
Well, I mean, look, we don't have the inside scoop on that one, right? In the end, I don't have a clue on what actually was told to the grand jury, what evidence they had. But for them to charge that cop with, I guess like he must have been firing like a cowboy, however he was doing it, he must have been doing it in such a reckless way. I mean, look, they charged him. I can't dispute it. And like most of the things that the issue with Brianna and so many others is we don't have the complete list of facts. And drips and dribble, right? They come out little pieces here, little there, and you have to try to put them together. It makes it very difficult.
Yeah, well, let's drip and dribble this little thing, because right now, let's go on what we have. I mean, basically, in New York City, that would be considered reckless. I mean, when you're doing something and shooting, you shoot. He got charged for shooting walls at a wall. Shout out to my brother Nathan Ingram, Yush, Harold Thomas in the building, the detective of all detectives, first grade Harold Thomas. Harold Thomas, if you want to chime in on this, inbox me and I will let you come in. Charlie Beck, my Harlem brother, Rice Raider, Martin Luther King, standout basketball brother. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. And we're just talking about police politics. We're just going around the board. And right now, we're just talking about Breonna Taylor. It's still a hot topic. Let's not forget Amir Arbery, George Floyd, people that have just lost their lives in lieu of police, as some feel, police brutality, violence against people of color. Shout out to the officers. Like I said, my show is not about bashing the blue, because I was blue, but I will call a spade, and I cannot put a color before my ethnicity. I will not. I wasn't built like that. My parents didn't raise me to be like that. My uncles, my aunts. I had an uncle that was one of the first Black Marines in the United States, and to hear the stories of how he could go to war and fight, but then he had to come home and still had to drink from a fountain that said colors only. And you know what I'm saying? Like, some people always, I hear a lot of people sometimes say, "Oh well," and not Black people, but some other people say, "Well, listen, we can't change the past." Yeah, you can't change the past, but some people don't even want to acknowledge the past. It's almost like, nobody's telling the Jews to forget the Holocaust. I don't hear that. We're not telling the Indians to forget Christopher Columbus.
I'll actually argue that with you. You do hear some of that, though. People talking.
Okay.
The Pew Research just did a thing, I think it was a high percentage of millennials didn't know what the Holocaust was. So there are, my last decade plus, well, I study violent extremists. So I see lots of this crazy talk in every direction.
Right.
So do you see Holocaust deniers? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
and blamers, not even.
The Jews are so powerful, they're not gonna let us forget it though. How about that? That's one thing. Look what just happened out in the Hasidic Jews. They just showed us in New York City that they're still in power.
Yeah. Look,
right?
Our education system. I'm a product of New York City public education system.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Did they teach me properly? No. They didn't teach properly of our own history. We spent more time learning about English kings than what we did as a nation.
Right.
And it's, to me, it's mind blowing, right? At this point in life, right? Like looking back at what our education system teaches our kids. Again, it's public. It's not like I wasn't sent to some private school where people have some, say in it and could be jaded one way or the other. Public school, American history should teach American history.
Right. I mean,
good, bad, and ugly. The good, bad, and the ugly. It's got to be all there.
Yeah, I really don't. To this day, I don't know what learning about the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria has ever done for me financially or emotionally.
We could learn that too.
But it has done nothing for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, right now to this day, what you and I learned in school, a child going through school is still learning the same thing about Christopher Columbus, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, or anybody of those people. So I mean, we have to understand that the school system is failing people of color, because the bottom line is what we've all learned about people of color have been slaves. And the bottom line is we started off as kings and queens before that. And I mean, this has nothing to do in disrespect to you, of course, but this is it's facts. And the thing is, I think a lot of times when we find out about just like our cultures and our history, we'll find out that we all come together some way, somehow on some island. And maybe we wouldn't have this ideology of who is what and what is what. You know what I'm saying? We talk about Italians, we have the Sicilians and things like that. And there's always some kind of separation between light and dark and good and bad. Think about what the Haitians and the Dominicans right now that's going on over there. Like there's just so many, you got two dog people and dog people killing each other. And and treating each other with bad, and you have certain people in the Dominican culture that don't even think they're black. I don't understand how the hell they figure that out, but please tell them to reach out to me. I'll help them I'll help them get it straight. You know what I'm saying? I'll straighten their ass out. So I say all that to say that everybody, shout out to everybody chiming in. Mia, Jose, what's going on? Dave, I see you. Uptown, what's going on? Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. Shout out to my lovely wife, Malika Forster, and shout out to my co-host, Kevin Branzetti, who every Wednesday. Go ahead.
Sorry, Bill. So, Bill, like I've talked about it before. I have a tremendous problem with our education system, right? Like, not just what we teach; it's the what are the best public schools in New York City? What neighborhoods are they in?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. They're in the wealthy, affluent neighborhoods. Instead of the neighborhoods that actually need a better education and more help. And they go ahead, pick a city in the country. It's all the same. I'll guarantee it. I guarantee if we went to Chicago, Baltimore, LA, Dallas, there's no difference. Poor neighborhoods get crappy public schools. How that's possible, I don't know. It's supposed to be public, fair, even. It doesn't happen that way. We have failed in our education system on so many levels. But who's talking about it? Tell me a politician that's talking about it, looking to change it. Tell me a politician that's looking to talk about what we just spoke about, that we're not educating our kids with American history. There's some great things in American history, and there's some ugly things.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that they're not talking about it?
You know what? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. They don't see the problem. It doesn't get them votes. Affluent neighborhoods are known to vote, so they get what they want. I don't know. It's mind blowing, right? to me, because to me these are simple solutions. Right?
Let me ask you a question, Kev. And I can only ask you. Shout out to Mark Rose in the building. And I can only ask you this question because it's real talk and that's what it is. Of course, I'm not putting you on the spot, but I can't
But
have
you
real.
are.
That's what it is. It is what it is. But the bottom line is, I
Okay.
appreciate you because you know what's so funny. I appreciate you for being here, and I tell anybody that you stepped up and you allow people to get into the ideology of a person, a white person's mind, a white officer, and that's no disrespect to you. It's just I commend you for want to being able to stand for it because Kevin, like you always say, I ask white officers all the time. I ask Republicans anytime. I ask anybody. You have a form. If you want to come here and speak up, I get people sidebarring me all the time talking about this and that, but they don't come and talk on this, and it kills me because you want to have this long-winded dialogue with me sidebar. But come out here and maybe let the world hear the asinine shit that you say. Because I'm not the only one that thinks you're an ass. I mean, I want to share that ideology with everybody. I mean, and if you make sense, I want somebody to say besides me that you made sense too. You understand what I'm saying? So this is no disrespect to anybody, but like I always say, I give you accolades because you have no problems with me being here with me and shout it out. Shout out to Cheetah Brothers. What's up, me and Mark? Tag team and back again. We back here. Shout out to Carlos Torres in the building. So let me ask you a question and really please, like always, give me your honest opinion. Of course, I shouldn't even say that. How do you think people of color have been treated from law enforcement?
On the general scale, worse than white people.
Okay.
Now, but that's such a hard phrase and thing to say. I also think people of poverty are treated much worse by law enforcement than people with money, right? There's a whole combination of things. But, we're talking in generalizations and I kind of hate that because I know what I did. I know what cops I work with did. Right. So, we weren't a part of that, but you can't say it doesn't exist, right? Like you'd have to be a fool.
But there are officers, Kevin, not you. And everybody out there, this is Real Talk Chronicles, and I have to shout out Kevin on this. He doesn't feel that way. But excuse me. But there are officers that we've worked with. There are officers out here. There are officers in these groups that feel that people of color are making this shit up. Like, this not your fault. Shout out to Mr. Blake. Look, he's still recovering, but he's paralyzed. The bottom line is, people can talk about he could have complied, but what about the officer jumping on him, and fighting him before you giving him, 7 in the back? So, we talk about complying, but let's talk about the fact that what could you have done before he complied, and the fact that he didn't comply. So I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? And I shouldn't have to give you accolades for being honest. You know what I'm saying? But we live in a world right now that it's a sad situation. So go ahead, Kev.
But you also know I don't think it's. But I also, on the same note, don't think it's as bad as the media portrays. I'm a tremendous believer in the media is pushing this. And I've gone through that with you, right? Like they love pushing. If it is a white officer and a black man, it'll be all over the news. If it's a white suspect, you're never going to see it. It doesn't exist.
But the ones that we do see, we see the white suspect getting a lot of longitude and latitude, and But
that's because that's the only video we're showing. But we can't. What's hard? There are millions of interactions with the public every year with cops. Millions.
Right.
And there is this incredibly tiny amount picked that makes the news. Incredibly tiny amount. So what the news likes is, again, something that they believe will stir up emotions because that gets people to watch. Right, I'm gonna watch this, video later with Breonna Taylor's boyfriend. That's the goal of media, right? They want us to watch stuff more and more, so they make money. It's part of the game.
Yeah. I totally agree that the media has uh, uh, perpetuated a certain ideology on, blacks are the worst and the blacks are
Yeah,
always getting abused. But the bottom line is, you can't show it unless it actually happens. And the bottom line is,
100%. Those incidents all exist, Bill. I've gone with you statistically, right?
yeah,
There are more white guys killed by cops every year than black men.
not killed, shot. Let's stay focused. They're shot.
I'm going to go
They're not
back to
killed.
you. I'm going to go back to you.
We can go Google it right now. There are
Yeah.
more white people shot, not
See,
killed.
so now we're going to go to the hospital systems effed up because those white guys get saved and the black guys don't.
No,
I'm in. Let's say it.
but
F the
listen.
hospitals.
The bottom line is we have more white people, and I ask anybody out there that's listening, go to your Google, go to Siri, go to somebody, go to Wikipedia, go to somebody, find out. The question is, who are getting killed more, white people or black people? Right? It's not, and then we can talk about unarmed and armed. So these are the questions that we can ask, and we can let Kevin, do his.
It's still there. I'm telling you, WashingtonPost.com. Go check it out.
And what
It's
did they say?
more white are killed every year.
Killed. They're more white and killed.
Yeah.
Okay. So anybody can fact check that for me. Kevin just said Washington Post just did that. You can check it out. Here's the thing, Kevin. How Mark asked this question. Here's the thing, Kevin. How do we find out if we don't get get it from the news?
Yeah, I'm not saying that's to find out. You got to find out. You got to learn. What I'm saying is the news is perpetuating it, and I've gone through the other direction, right? So in one direction, the news will push white cop, black man. Statistically, we've shot more white guys. It doesn't mean those white ones aren't all cleaner shoots, better shootings. I'm not going through that. There's got to be a couple that are controversial, right? There's got to be. I would have to say there's got to be something. But the other end of it, they don't care about black and brown, girls and babies. So, my second job in life is I'm a co-founder of a national child protection task force. I help law enforcement all over the country with missing kid cases. I'm doing an event this weekend. I can't name the agency I'm working for yet, but we're helping them out with all their missing kid cases. Well, nobody cares about the media. Doesn't white kid in Aruba gets killed. It's on the news for 10 years. Mm-hmm. I still know her name. White woman young girl gets killed in Central Morningside Park. Yeah. White jogger gets killed in Howard Beach, right? How many black and brown young girls that got killed in New York City this year?
We're going to talk about that. Shout out to Derek Harrison in the building. Scotty said white people are shot more, but I believe it's statistically disproportionated towards black people.
Yeah,
exactly.
On the percentages, I don't disagree with that. I'm just my state. Yes, on the percentages, there are more black than white killed because there's more white people in the country. I'm just saying flat out numbers.
Thank you, Scott.
You just don't see. It doesn't make the media, and I think it's just the point. It doesn't sell.
Yeah,
like I told you before, Bill, I still think there's racism and effed up stuff that goes on with cops out there. I just don't think it's as much.
And no disrespect, I don't think that you didn't think that. I just, the beautiful thing about you and I right now is that we're thinking out loud, and this is what it is. It's a podcast, and we sharing our thoughts and ideologies, and we're trying to give people some insight into what we do and what we have done, and things of that magnitude. What you were just saying earlier about what you do. Why don't you give some people what are you doing right now? Give them some insight on what are you trying to do to make the world a better place right now.
So, not my day job. So I'm still in law enforcement. I spend a lot of time investigating violent extremists of all kinds. So that's a little bit of an expertise. But my free job that I do in my spare time is I am a co-founder of a group called the National Child Protection Task Force. And we are a group of law enforcement and public sector professionals who just, on call 24/7, helping cops across the country with missing kid cases. So we'll do a live, Cole will come in tonight for a live abduction case out of Wichita, and we'll all jump in and help do what we can to help, bring that kid home quickly. And then we help out with lots of stale and cold missing kid cases. We try to bring some new life into them, bring in a ton of resources. And that's the trick of it, right? It's bringing in friends and lots of resources, to try our best to do what we can with these cases. Police departments in general, they do an okay job with missing kid cases, but it's not a priority, sadly, right? You ever hear a police commissioner getting fired because of a couple of missing kid cases?
Not at all.
Murders go up, burglaries go up, car thefts could even, get you into trouble.
Yeah.
Missing kids is not a big statistic. It's not a statistic that departments keep. And we talk all the time, right? New York City shootings are up, violent crimes up, this up, that down. Missing kids, we don't. And that's where traffic kids come from, right? Runaway kids become traffic kids more than any other way in this world. So if we don't put effort and time into them, their life really becomes hell. So.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. What do you think? I know the cops have slowed down a little. I don't know if they've got off their derrieres and started doing their job again. But what do you think about the fact that an officer takes an oath to protect and serve, but because of his own personal beliefs or the union head tells them to slow down? What's your ideology?
Bill, how many times when we were on the job did the unions tell us to slow down? Right? There was official sanctioned unions kind of slow down and it's always wage related, right? We're in a wage dispute, or it was the time we were in narcotics and they switched us to Tuesday, Wednesdays off. All right, and we slowed down. I'd slow down. Yeah. I ain't gonna sit here and lie, right? You couldn't. I wasn't making an arrest that week. Yeah. We all shut down. Those don't usually last. They don't usually work that well. This is different. This cops are scared. I don't understand the diaphragm law. And Bill, if we went back and had video of every time we arrested somebody, how many times would we have now committed a crime? Yeah. With that new law.
I tell anybody all the time. I'm a firm believer that if I was still working to today, I would have lost my job. I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't, because it was a whole different mentality. But then in the plus side of that, I only got one CCRB for my whole career, so I didn't do anything beyond what people expected me to do, the community or protecting myself or another law enforcement officer. So I say that it's almost like what I did, people understood why I did it. You understand what I'm saying?
I get it. Me too.
Yeah, no, I'm not disrespecting your career. Absolutely. I sit here, you wouldn't be sitting here next to me, you know what I'm saying, if I thought that you would
next to you.
Pocket, you know what I'm saying? So, but I commend you. Your work ethic is impeccable. Your investigative skills are second to none. You could be that borderline, like, I'm a go-getter, whatever people want to say, buff. You're going to get you're going to keep asking why. Like, you're that child. I'm sure your parents, when they say, Kevin, do this, why? Kevin, do this, why? Okay, Kevin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you asked that last question where you got on somebody's damn nerves. I get it, and I've seen it. You know what I'm saying?
I've done that to a lot of police supervisors. Asked, sure, but why?
And that's
never went over well.
Exactly, and like I said, shout out to NYPD. Like I said, this is not about bashing law enforcement. I'm sure a lot of people, if I ain't voting red, or if I'm not, singing the blue song, you think I'm not supporting blue, knock it off, kiss my black, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what I'm saying? Like if you're not part of the gang, then you're against the group. It is what it is. I mean, what I've done for NYPD speaks for itself, and that's what it is. But the bottom line is, I'm never going to. I still understand what it's like to be a person of color, and I think a lot of times blue officers want you to forget that, but then they don't understand why. Like, all these retirees don't understand why they're brothers in blue speak out the way they do. They don't think about that. All they still think is like, yo, blue, 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 blue. And give me some insight in that, because a white officer is not going to tell me what he's going to tell you. I don't know if they're telling you anything, because maybe right now, I'm sure doing this show with me, ain't nobody talking to you as much as they used to. So go ahead, give me some insight, Kev.
I mean, I don't have much insight into that anymore, right? Like that, I'm not in a locker room nowadays, right? The locker room's a different, entity and different animal. I'm not doing, 4 to 4s, working a 4 to 12 and then hang out in the bar for a few hours afterwards with cops, right? Like I got 4 kids, I got 2 jobs,
But
I don't socialize that much.
But in all fairness, you remember what you heard in the locker rooms when you were working, don't you?
Yeah, look.
That's real talk, baby. I put you right there. Right there.
No, then I'm going back to thinking of phrases. Do people say calling the community savages and animals? Yeah. I ever hear that? Sure.
Absolutely.
And I heard some things from black officers too along those lines, right? Some things that make you scratch your head. I can think of a story, sitting in the back of a car with 2 officers, and they were talking about, we were having a conversation about race and things and issues. And then they those 2 black officers, I tell you later who they are. Mm-hmm. They came out of a bodega that was run by a Middle Eastern guy, and they had all sorts of disparaging things to say about him for being Middle Eastern. And I was like,
right.
You can't sit here and complain about, the world's unfair with you being black, and then you walk into a store and throw some racism and prejudice at some other guy.
Yeah, don't be a
hypocrite. Kind of like, it was a strange entity. He said, yes, do people let their guards down, and do you hear strange things? Yeah. And I've seen.
I mean, it might even be fair to say that everybody at one point or another that said some disparaging remarks against somebody of another ethnicity. But I think there's a difference in saying, you piece of shit, because you did something that was a piece of shit kind of ideology, in lieu of saying, yo, you black or you white piece of, because you're just white or black. You understand what I'm saying? Like a lot of times people out here, let's call a spade a spade. You said something and talk about what happened with your. Can you? I don't know.
My ex.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So my ex was in one of those, typical New York City road rage kind of incidents. Where you're both inching up to that merge section, and it's supposed to be one and the other, and one car doesn't want to let the other in, so she's having that merge fight with a guy. He rolled down his windows. What did he say? Something along the lines that, I'll fucking kill you, you white bitch. There was a black man. And I've told you this, Bill, like, does that make him a racist? No, he said a racist statement. It doesn't mean you're a racist. It's a sign you might be. The potential's there. If he would have hit her at that point, he would have been charged with a hate crime.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You open your mouth because you said it. You said it. That that's on you.
Let me ask you a question. Switching to politics real quick. You know how I feel about 45 and stuff like that.
Tell me.
I dislike him. I think he's the worst president ever in this whole world. I think he's the worst wartime president. I think he has fueled the fire for racism. I think he has that white supremacy piggyback off of the things that he said. If people say he's not a racist, like I told another friend of mine, a white friend of mine, you know what? You can sit here and say I'm not a racist, but if you keep saying like I'm trying to find out the terminology that I used when I was talking to him, you can't hold a noose around a black person's neck and then say, well, yo, I still have black friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do that. That's not cool. Like, I can't sit here and say, like, yo, I hate white people, but I have white friends. That's whack. So, and if anybody out here white is saying the same, vice versa, like I listen, I'm not racist because I have a black friend, or my black friend said, or my black friend, then you're racist because You're differentiating, and you're just saying that there's a part of you that has allowed this person. And I learned this a long time ago. Shout out to my man, Mac. I'm just going to use that terminology. We used to work together, and he used to always tell me about your white friends. He said, "Yo, it's all right to call somebody a friend, but find out when they invite you to your house, and find out the last time they invited you to their house, or because that's what a friend is. A friend's going to invite you to their house.
You're
You know what I'm
100%.
saying? But I work with a lot of white officers. I ain't been invited to a lot of white houses. You understand what I'm saying?
But
And
have
and,
you
and
invited them? I mean, look, Bill, we're friends, and you ain't been to mine. I ain't been to yours.
yeah, but we got reconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got reconnected, and at that time when we were working, I don't think any of us were having any functions to allow us to say, let's come to my house, in my home. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm
True.
saying?
All
So
true.
so that's facts. But now I've been invited to white houses because I was part of a team, and it would have been discriminatory to say, "Oh, I'm gonna invite the whole team, and I ain't gonna invite you." But you know what I'm saying? It's still like you know they just. I remember not too long ago they just had a reunion, a little, and they got together. They ain't invite me on that shit because they know I ain't like their ass and they ain't like me either. So it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's okay. I'm good with that. Shout out to Darren Joseph in the building. Is Kevin still undecided on who he is voting for? I don't know. Is he?
I don't know. Darren should come on and ask such questions.
Darren, I'll send you a link. It's so funny because the bottom line is, um, when we start talking about politics, everybody knows Kevin is a Republican. Or he votes Republican for the most part. I'm not going to say he's a Republican.
I'm a registered Republican. You could say
Okay,
it. It's
okay.
fine. I don't
So
bleed Republican.
all right, and that's cool. How do you feel about since Darren brought up the question and that's what's in the group? Like, what do you feel about what's happening with the politics right now in this world today?
I hate them all.
Okay.
Is the short answer.
Yeah.
Politically, where did I want? I wanted Bloomberg to be president.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one reasonable person that was out there, I thought, and he's a man I trust with my money. Right. I think we're in our third straight failed presidency, and I could give you the reasons why I think the last two failed.
Go ahead, please.
So I have, like, just on a simple scale of financially, everybody spent more than they made. Right. Bush failed, Obama failed, Trump's failing. Nobody can keep a budget. So that's a simple one. Bringing left and right together. Did Bush bring people together? Did Obama? Well, I won't even say this guy because that's just silly to ask, right? No. Bringing, white and black, cop and community together. Did any of them do that? No. Fail. Super fail, right? Left the world better than they got it. The previous two presidents started wars in countries they didn't know anything about. We've had hundreds of thousands of people dead, millions of refugees, and wars are still existing. Right? Afghanistan hasn't stopped. Iraq, Syria, Libya, all those countries are still in upheaval that we started. So our predecessors failed because they did not understand those nations and thought we could create democracy in 10 minutes. Through war, through civil war, through us invading, or either way. And, maybe it's because they didn't learn American history and didn't understand that it took us, and we can argue about this, Bill, but I always go with it took us about 200 years to get it right, to get a democracy. Okay. That's right. We expected to give it to Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, and Iraq overnight. It ain't that easy. You can't force a freedom, our version of freedom and democracy on a group of people. Like I said, it took us 200 years, but maybe it's because our education system, we don't teach all of the uglies that we had to go through to get to, and we're not there. We're not perfect, but my number's 200 years it took us. So how do we expect to have it happen in an instant?
Gotcha.
So that's my quick explanation of why I found the other two were failures.
Okay. What do you think about the one that's in the office now?
Oh, he's failing too. He's, as I said, we're in the middle of our third straight failed presidency.
Okay. All right.
You know, the one thing he hasn't done that the others did, he hasn't started a war. That's the only thing I can give him credit for. But on the other categories, he's done worse than the other two. So
Exactly.
and he's not done yet. So, you know, or
Yeah,
maybe he is, but you know,
hopefully he is. That's so. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with Kevin Branzetti, my co-host. This is Real Talk Chronicles. If you like it, share it. The only thing I can do is be informative and give you what I can. And shout out to Kevin for always being here with me every Wednesday. Real Talk is on Mondays and Wednesdays, and we have special segments. My wife will be here Tuesday coming up. I don't know the date. We will have a in-candid interview with me interviewing her, if I'm correct, on small businesses and how they coped during the pandemic, and also too, we're talking about shout out to the Hispanic month. I think Hispanic culture. You know, I am one that believes that you know, we are people of color. We are all one. So I don't differentiate between Hispanic and African American. It's just one block over. It is what it is. I mean, some Latin officers, they fail to acknowledge that, and they get a little delusional. They think because they got a paycheck, they forgot that they hang out with white people. They feel like they're not Hispanic anymore, but it is what it is. But and I said it, and that's what I feel. It is what it is. It's my show. I say what I want to say. Tom, Thomas was Tommy Finlayson. What's going on? Um, Kevin, I just want to read Darren Joseph, and my old coworker. I appreciate you, Darren. He said, "Nice job avoiding the question." That was
yeah,
what he.
I'm not. It's the answer. You want the answer? I want you to understand my political beliefs first. But I don't know what I'm going to do. This may be the first presidential election I bow out of and vote across the board on other things. I don't like the other guy.
Right. All right. Well, and I'm going to ask you. So, coming to you, why you don't like the other guy, and just going to read another remark, but think about your answer on that. Why you don't like that? Mark said, Kevin, I respect your opinion, but how could President Obama bring the country together under white supremacy?
I actually don't understand the question fully, but you know, how could Obama bring the country together? You bring people together and you start them talking.
But the thing is, we know Mitch McConnell has come out and said that everything Obama put in front of him, he denied out of just because.
But that's Democrats and Republicans been doing that to each other for a long time.
He said Obama. He didn't say Democrats. He said Obama.
But that's the same thing. You know, you take that as a personal thing, and so I took it as because it was a Democrat president. If it was any other Democrat president, he would have said the same lousy crap. We've stopped working together. You know, I'll go to, you know, Clinton and Reagan. You know, the sides didn't like each other, but they spoke. They had dinner together. They drank, you know, cocktails together. These guys don't do that.
On a presidential platform, from a scale of 1 to 10, how presidential do you think 45 has been?
0. You know, it's embarrassing to listen to him. I've shut off, you know, the news.
Right. Yeah. Darren Joseph said the Republican Party said they want Obama to fail.
Yes, of course they did. And the Democrats want Trump to fail, and the Democrats wanted Bush to fail, and the Republicans wanted Clinton to fail, and the Democrats wanted Reagan to fail. Like, this is not new. And it's not all, but like I said, we've forgotten how to just, you know, speak to each other. Both sides have hit this point of, if they can rile up people, that gets that one section of the base to come out and vote. And both sides have learned and mastered this now, right? They mastered how to rile people up instead of, I heard it on today, a political ad in Utah, and you can Google this. Both politicians get on the ad together and talk about unity. And, you know, they said, we have our political differences. We want you, I'm the Republican candidate. The other one gets on, I'm the Democratic candidate. I believe this, I believe that. But what we really want is everybody to just work together. They did an ad together in Utah. They're running against each other.
Who did this ad?
Google, I'll Google it, but it's two politicians in Utah, a Democrat and a Republican.
Okay.
Republican politicians. They jumped on this together. They're running for if you Google opponents in Utah governor's race appear in ads together promoting civility. It's in the New York Times. You could Google that.
All right, I got you.
That's what I want.
Right.
You're right. Like, could we have a little, civility? Could we just agree to disagree at times?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. Yeah, we can be cool, kumbaya, but we understand that there are people out here that are not kumbaya-ish.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And my thing is all about bringing clarity to a certain mentality that will never change. Like I don't understand and how some people just don't get it. And I was having a conversation with a man not too long ago, and we were having a back and forth over 45 and Biden and stuff like that. And I was hitting him with some real bongs. I was giving him, he was knocked out. And then, he came back with some off the wall nonsense. And then I said, well, listen, man, like you're never going to give, like if somebody says something and I Google it and they tell me that 45 did like he has denounced white supremacy in the past. He didn't denounce QAnon recently, but he has in the past denounced white supremacy. But I have to give you that because that's facts. Once I fact check it, it's facts.
Sure.
So when I fact checked him on the thing, I said, "Yo, you're never going to give props to the Democrats for doing anything or Obama, anybody." He said, "No, why should I?" And then I had to tell him, I said, "Well, I thought we was having an intellectual conversation." So now I realize that right now you're just being like an ass. Yeah, you're being
Bill, I can sit and discuss politics all day with people until they're like that, and I got no time for it. It's not a discussion. You're not learning.
Yeah, but I just had to tell my man. I had to say like, "Yo, we can't talk politics anymore. Let's go back to talking rap music and other things because right now I thought we was having an intellectual conversation and that was left out. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. I got my co-host Kevin Branzetti with me, and he got his little ghost people walking behind him, his sons and daughters or whomever. Shout out to Suhas in the building, mighty 2-8 Suhas in the building. Mark said, Kevin, white supremacy has been at the start of our union, right, Bill? Mitch McConnell did everything to hinder President Obama's time in office. Politics is politics until a black president came into play.
My answer is what it was before. It is no different than Democrats blocking Bush when he was in office. They do it to each other. It's disgusting across the board. I'm not a fan of it. I don't. Both sides will hinder a president if even if they think it's the right thing to do, but if they think it'll help that president get reelected or get another. Right. The Republicans will not vote for something they think will help a Democrat get elected, and Democrats won't vote for something they think will help a Republican look good. And neither one has the welfare of us. I'm not. I am more right than left, but I'm not a party line guy.
I got you. Let me ask you a question. Is of course we're coming on an hour and it's been we have been right boom on everything. Attorney General comes out and says in lieu of the Breonna Taylor, he said he personally didn't feel that he should have asked the jury to look into murder charges or things of that magnitude. Do you feel he was right?
Yeah, I actually do. You know,
Why?
and I know it's not well. Murder charges are, murder is intentionally going in there to kill somebody. You can't give me that these cops went in there to kill somebody. They were fired upon. Whether we could argue whether that bullet was, friendly fire or not, but they were fired upon and they fired back.
Oh,
And a terrible tragedy happened in there. Now we can make an argument and discussion on where their tactics sound, should they have been in that, should the warrant have even been executed. But once, Bill, we've been on search warrant teams. I'm doing the ram, you're the handcuff guy, you're this. Like, it goes off, it goes off. That's nothing to do with anything else, but it goes off, it goes off. Now, not as the prosecutor, right? He's the attorney general. It is absolutely within his right to not offer a murder charge to a grand jury. That is normal. You don't.
do you think he should have offered something else? Your personal.
No. Well, I don't. I think he explained it well at the end. I think look, he is the only one of very few people who has seen all the facts, right? You and I have only got bits and pieces from what media leaks and things and disinformation, real information. It could drive you nuts, where we could spend a week just researching what is out there and we still won't have all the facts.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, do you trust your prosecutor, your elected official, the other people who were involved, who see all the facts to come out with this answer?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to she's more like an aunt to me, but she's a cousin, but she has aunt status. Shout out to Shirley Mitchell in the building, family. How are you? Calvin Williams, former Narco Ranger with me. Shout out to everybody that's watching. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. Got my man Kevin Branzetti, my co-host, with me. We're just talking law enforcement, politics. We're just talking it up. We're just chopping it up right to tonight. If you like it, share it. Let everybody know. They can find us on YouTube at Real Talk Chronicles. You can find us on Facebook Live every Wednesday between the hours of 7 and 8, differentiating between if Kevin has something to do, or I might have something to do, or I just got off another call. So, I mean, there's just so many different things that's going on in this world, but you're going to find us. Shout out to Kenny in the building. What's up? What about the civil politicians from both parties leave their respective parties and formed another party for the people?
I'm in.
Co-sign that?
I'm in.
That. You're in that, right?
I'm in. I think most of us, are more center than hard left and hard right.
Right.
And that's actually the reason why Biden is the Democratic candidate. He everybody else was kind of fighting for that harder. They were trying to see who was further left than the next one, and he kind of just stood there, and he got I think he got more of, I want something up the middle vote. Not that they were fans of Biden, but there was nobody else in there. I don't think Biden excited anybody, right? Bernie excited people. There were some other ones in there who excited their base. I can't say there was anybody running around screaming, for Biden during that. He got we just want calm vote, and I think what actually be in the end, I think if Biden won the presidency, what I'd like to see Biden win the presidency and the Republicans win the Senate and the House. And that's usually when things work better.
Is that what you are you going on record saying that right now?
Yeah. I think that's when things work a lot better. When we're forced to talk to each other, right? I don't want an all Republican House Senate presidency, and I don't want an all Democrat House presidency and Senate. That there's no communication.
I respect that.
I think we have to force communication with these guys.
Exactly. I respect that. I'm going to ask you a question as we get close to closing now. But I'm going to read a statement, but I want to ask you the question. Tell me why you don't like Biden, because you said that you don't like him. What I'm going to read what Darren Joseph wrote. He said, how is it that a woman is killed in her home for doing nothing wrong? They should have at least a minimum been a reckless charge. What do you think about that? Shout out to
Well,
Tracy. Trey, I see you in the building.
it, but you have to say what they were doing was reckless. If I'm
shooting at a wall,
but if there's bullets coming through the wall towards me, that's not reckless anymore.
But he shot. Listen, if I'm shooting north and then I shoot west, and the bullets coming over here at Mrs. Branzetti's house. If I'm shooting
the one person who they said shot reckless, they charged, right? So apparently, right. we don't have the inside details. We don't know who shot north, south, east, west, left, or right. We have no clue.
We don't even know technically who shot the sergeant.
Yep.
Everything is still right now. There has not been any confirmation that Mr. Walker's bullet shot the sergeant. It's just speculation.
I'm not sure of that either. You said it. I don't know. You could be right. It could be out there. I have no idea. But yeah, and there's grand jury secrecy rules. But sometimes it's just a tragedy. It's not. There are cases, and I'll sit here and go. The extreme is Floyd. Right, that's the obvious one. I don't think there's really an argument in the crowd. There are some idiots who will say, well, he was a blah, 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 some criminal history of bullshit. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
That's the extreme end. And but sometimes there's the other end. And sometimes it's just an accident. We're cops. It's law enforcement. There are guns involved. We can have an accident. It doesn't mean somebody should be charged.
So let me ask you a question. If deemed that the search warrant was done by false pretenses, what do you think should happen to the officer? Because it's coming out, or it's been said that what they said, the post office said was false. The post office general has come out and said that I have not said that Miss Taylor was receiving packages, and that's what they said. That's how they obtained the search warrant. So,
if a cop lied in an affidavit for a search warrant, you lock him up.
Okay. What would you lock him up for?
Because you're lying on the oath. You're swearing in front of a judge that these are facts. That's a crime.
Okay.
It's crystal clear. It's a crime. Now, can you then, if you lied under oath, the warrant was done, and because of that, she was shot? I don't know. I'd have to look at the law and understand it. Can they be charged then? Can that cop who lied be charged with her death? Maybe.
That's your homework assignment for next Wednesday. Everybody out there listening, that's our homework assignment.
We need a prosecutor. Is there a prosecutor in the audience who could jump in and answer that question?
Yeah. I know Lisa Davis was in the building, and she's former prosecutor. She said, but this is everybody's homework assignment to find out. Question. Repeat the statement again, please.
If a cop or the cop in this case lied under oath, to get a warrant, gave terrible information. One, that's an arrest, right? Like that, you can't. Lying under oath is either a misdemeanor or a felony, depending upon what state you're in. But now, if that lying under oath for that warrant then led to these incidents, can the cop be charged with her death? I don't know. Maybe.
Let's so maybe so. I mean, of course, a lot of people in the African and brown community feel that the attorney general is a little sellout.
Well, now, is that fair to say to him? Because, it
is.
Why is he a sellout? If he's the guy who saw, but you don't know the facts either. So you're calling a guy a sellout, right? Who's doing his job, right? He's the prosecutor.
Is he doing a job from a point
that, like, okay,
let's we talked about him doing his job and not talking about charging murder, but articulate why you didn't charge murder, because it's the same thing. Please, it's all about articulating. Like we've arrested people and we said, listen, my man, I don't want to arrest you, but you committed a crime. Like, maybe if that was my son, you bust his ass. I would have did the same thing. But I gotta lock you up because it's assault. You know what I'm saying? And I was called here. I wish I wasn't called here because, and I honestly locked the person up one time that his son disrespected his mother, and he told his son to do certain things, and the son was feeling himself, and the son swung on his father, and his father handled him, and damn near his son's ear was almost ripped off. When we got there, we come to find out his son basically was like, "Yo, yeah, I didn't want to do it, and my father told me to do it, and I said this and I said that, and my father told me to do it, and I swung on him, and my father gave me the business." And next thing you know, I apologized to the man that I arrested for it was a felony assault.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I apologized to the man that I arrested, saying like, "Yo, if the shoe was on the other foot, I would have gave him the same smoke that you gave him." But the bottom line is knowing the situation at hand. Right now, he's not articulating anything. He's more talking about why he feels that how dare people call him a coon and things of that magnitude, but he's not articulating why he didn't feel that there shouldn't have been a murder charge. Okay, you're right. Due to the criminal legality of things, you can't charge murder. Murder is a whole different mentality, but you can charge an officer with reckless.
But you're still going reckless when I don't see the reckless. I don't see how that's reckless. If you
well, I'm
again,
using
Bill,
I'm using the word reckless. I'm using
yeah,
the word
but
reckless.
I don't. You're looking for a charge that I'm just going to keep on with it. I don't see it's there. They're fired upon. They fired back, and an innocent person got
One
killed in the end.
shot to 30.
Bill, numbers, don't matter to me, right? Like,
So they don't.
now you're telling me it's the amount of bullets?
No,
No.
I'm saying the amount of bullets right now. I'm just talking. We having conversation. The fact that listen, you shoot one time, and listen, I'm a fighter. I've always told anybody that if we fight, you can't tell me how long to kick your ass. I kick your ass until I get tired. You can't tell me I said stop. You can't.
No, you can't.
You can't tell me. But the one thing is, if I shoot one time, where do you add up 30?
I'm not there, right? Like,
I'm
30 may be fine, but you also remember the one guy is
minute.
charged with the representation for firing after. I don't
but you
have an
just
issue
said-
with certain amount of
you just
rounds.
said-
Rounds don't bother me. Numbers don't bother me. Facts bother me.
But numbers do bother because listen, a lot of people are mad that Sean Bell got shot 31 times. They're not mad that he got shot. They got mad that he got shot 31 times. Right? So numbers do matter.
Yeah, but it's also, just as you say, look, I've never been in a firefight. You've never been in a firefight. So it's a very hard thing
I've been in a firefight. I have.
You've shot your gun at someone?
No, but I've been shot at. So
yeah, I've been shot at a couple of times,
okay.
too. But
right.
that was before I was a cop. Another story, another day. To have that kind of gun control, and you fire 3, you reassess, fire 3, reassess. That works at a range. It doesn't work in a tight situation. It doesn't work when you're fucking scared shitless. You've been shot at.
Say what you just said. Diallo was shot how many times? And 41. He didn't have a gun.
Yeah,
he didn't have a gun.
But that was.
So we're talking about shots.
41 there. Their reasoning was that.
And we used to work. We used to work with him.
One
of them. To work with one of the officers.
100%. They, fired it, and I'll give you this. I think I've given you a story before of the one-man shootout one of my guys in narcotics was involved in, and what happens with bullets sometimes and mistakes. What the story's always been out of the Diallo thing. Again, I'm not there. You're not there. We're not.
I was there. No, I was there.
You weren't standing there with the 3 of them when they were firing.
No, not at you. But I came on the scene, and I'll say all full transparency. We were doing narcotics in that precinct at the time. That was my precinct of enforcement that night. And when it came over the air about somebody getting shot 41 times, I, as a ghost, was asked to go into the crowd and find out and hear what I heard. So I was there as the crime scene was there and everything like that. Let me tell you something. When you start talking numbers, numbers do matter because
Sure.
the bottom line is. But you just said sure, and you said
But
it did. Hold on,
I get what
hold
you're
on.
saying, though.
Stay with it.
Sure.
But the bottom line is 41 shots and no bullets and no gun is just as bad as one shot and 30 some bullets. So it is what it is. Sean Bell, no shots. He got shot 31 times and shot. And I worked with Kevin. I worked with what's his name, Oliver. So I've worked with two people, Kenny Boss, and I worked with Oliver in both of these situations. So I say all that to say that the numbers do make it look bad
Oh,
because
yeah.
they make it look bad.
That I don't deny, but I'm just saying, just throwing numbers doesn't mean that much to me. Like you're in a shootout, so if I need to win with 50 shots, 50 shots, and I can't tell you how Kevin Branzetti, I can't tell you how Bill Foster is going to react when a bullet flies at us, and
Right.
will I be able to stop firing? Will I just be so damn scared that I just keep shooting till my gun empties? Maybe, and that happens. That happens often. Right, you don't even realize you're shooting your gun. Right? It's not. It is. This is not a range, and it's not practice, and it's not a video game. And none of us can experience what that kind of adrenaline and fear is.
And I totally get that, Kev. But what I'm trying to say is that the bottom line is you had mentioned earlier. You said numbers and Lou
To me,
earlier.
yeah, they don't matter to me.
They don't matter to me. But you just said earlier. You just said that. Yeah, numbers
publicly
do
they
matter.
matter. Publicly they matter. So there's a difference. Publicly, those numbers matter and the perception of it. But to me, the numbers don't matter. What was done and why matters. What was done and why matters.
So let me ask you a question. The fact that the yellow got shot 41 times doesn't matter. The numbers don't matter to you.
The fact that he was shot in an arm matters to me.
But it was 41 times. So one time or 41 times, it doesn't make a difference to you.
No, the numbers don't matter to me as much as the facts of like he was an unarmed man that they shot.
He was killed. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the fact that 41 times is not excessive to you. So that doesn't matter to you. That's what you're saying. Because that's what you just said.
Yeah, I don't see, look, if it was 25 times they fired at him, would it have made a difference?
The fact that he was killed is the difference.
That's the difference, right? Right. They could have shot 50 times and missed him.
So
it wouldn't,
So let me just say this with you: excessive force doesn't mean anything to you.
Yes, it does.
So then 41 and no gun, 30 something and one shot. I'm just, and listen, this is Real Talk Chronicles, everybody. I'm your host, Bill Forster. I'm chopping it up with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. This is what we do right now. We are just trying to bring light and clarity to a world. We are trying to give you some insight into our world that we have worked as NYPD officers. We can't speak for the world, but the thing is, we could just give you some insight. This is not about, we are not judge and jury. We're our this is our opinion and our personal opinion and what we feel. And shout out to everybody that's chiming in. I see you, Miss Diana. You said no deadly force was used against the police. Yep. Postpone fear, racism, or past cop trauma. It should. He was not armed. Exactly. Wow. I'm done. 41 bullets. His taxes bought. Yeah, exactly. You're right about that. That's some powerful shit that you just said. So there's so funny right now. Like I said, everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. If you like what we're talking about, we're sharing it. This is Kevin Branzetti and your host Bill Forster. We are just chopping it up, and we are just trying to give some insight into law enforcement mentality. This is Kevin's opinion. This is my opinion. Right, wrong, and different. It is what it is. This is what we're just trying to talk about. Go ahead, Kevin. I'll let you finish off what you were saying. I apologize.
No. There was no. It's just with the numbers for me. It's just hard to say how any of us would react. It really is. You say you're in a fist fight. You're not done until you're done. A gunfight where there's fear, adrenaline, tunnel vision, the whole spectrum. It's not that easy. It's not that simple. And I don't know how we train for that, Bill. And I don't know if we can even train for that.
So let's be fair. And we're going to talk about Diallo, and we're going to talk about Breonna Taylor. It is fair to say how different officers can accrue 41 shots. It's fair to say that different officers can accrue 30-some shots, right? Because if 7, 7, 7, 4, 13, whatever, right? It's fair to say that. But what we can't ignore is the fact that why you shot.
Oh yeah,
right.
No,
we can't ignore that.
That's absolute.
So the fact that you shot doesn't mean I had to shoot. The job has protected those who have shot because you shot. Mm-hmm. We know that they've come up with some kind of ideology. I forgot the terminology of what it is, that if you shoot, I shoot, and that's why I shot because you shot. Mm-hmm. That's some crazy shit right here. But that's what they're saying right now, right? Now, Diallo got shot 41 times, and they got they got acquitted. They didn't get charged with this.
They got acquitted, yeah.
And they
got charged.
They got charged, but they got acquitted, right? An unarmed man.
Yep.
We got a woman in her home sleeping with her boyfriend, and a NRA right to carry, all that state, a right to bear arms, and he defends himself. You have a bunch of people saying that they didn't say police, and that's why I need you to, and we can come back to this next week. I need you to listen to the interview. He said they did not announce themselves. 13 people, I think, in that whole building was like they didn't announce themselves.
And 13 people said they didn't hear it. There's a difference between saying it didn't happen and didn't hear it, meaning they weren't paying attention. They weren't, I've done these door-to-door canvases, right? The majority of people were like, I didn't hear nothing. I didn't hear nothing. And that's,
you've done the door-to-door canvases, but the one thing that you and I have both done is search warrants. And the one thing we know is once we hit that door, what do we say? Police, search warrant. And we say it loud.
But if that guy's sleeping, it doesn't mean he heard it. And I agree with him. I think he didn't hear it.
But you
does it mean they said it or not? I don't know. I would love to have look, I wish it was a body cam and we'd have an answer.
But the bottom line is they have a body cam and they didn't show it yet. So they're supposed to. And also too, Kev, the bottom line is that they're not coming out saying that where's the body cam footage. The bottom line is if you said that you said it, then it should be on the body cam, because the bottom line is we know that those are regular officers. Those were specialized units. I don't know what's happening in narcotics and other units right now if they're wearing body cam footage, but I know one thing, that if you saying that you hit that door and you said search warrant, it should be loud and clear. And the bottom line is for him to be in his house. And that's why I implore you to look at the video, the interview, and then let's come back and reconvene with this conversation. That he said he called his mother, he called Breonna's mother, he called 911 first. He called Breonna's mother, he called his mother, and he called Breonna's mother. And no one at that time had stepped in and said, "Yo, this is police." Because if they would have said police, you would have heard it on the phone call. Because the bottom line is, we know is you doing a search warrant and I'm doing a search, and I'm only going on what say with me. I'm only going on what we did. When we say search warrant, we hit the door. Search warrant. Police, don't move it. We say it continuously. We don't stop until we get.
But you've never fired your gun. I don't think once you start firing, you're screaming anymore.
Yeah, but you're firing at what? Ghosts.
When Ghosts are firing at you, though, in this one, right? It wasn't just
one shot. It wasn't continuous.
I don't care how many, shots.
But you say you don't care, but then you say
I do care, but it's one shot, and then is it the 30 is the return fire? is that done in a matter of seconds, or is that 30 done over the matter of we shoot 3, we pause, we shoot 3 and pause and keep going until we if a couple of them let loose, and clearly one let loose off to the side, right? Like one must have did something crazy for them to charge, right? So
like Diana said, that was trigger effect. Exactly.
Yeah. And Diana threw in there, like, I think Diana threw, no, maybe Susan threw in there about, isn't that advanced training? I don't look. Our training isn't
Diana
it.
She was a lieutenant on the job, so she's giving some insight.
So no, Susan said about, shouldn't that be like advanced training? Yeah, there should be better training for this, but can you actually train for fear of your life and being in a shootout? Can you actually train for that? You could do as much as you can, but nobody knows how they're going to react until it comes. Bill, there are people, we've worked with, like, right? Haven't you ever seen an incident where the cop is running from the scene, pointing to the other cops where to go? You don't know how people are going to react.
Let me interject for that. Shout out to Desmond Robinson. May he rest in peace. He was an officer in transit that got killed by another cop. He didn't get killed. He got shot multiple times by another cop on the train system. That cop had previously been punked on the train, and they took his gun and got beat up with his girlfriend. So he was scarred for life, and he was on the train again, going back to, I guess, Suffolk County or wherever it was he was going. And Desmond Robinson was responding. He was working. This is, for all those who don't know, this is how the color of the day came to light. And Desmond Robinson was going through the train with his gun out, and this officer was off duty, and he saw Desmond Robinson, and he shot him in his back. Desmond Robinson was just killed in a motorcycle accident that he had in Florida. So shout out to Desmond Robinson, who has changed the whole revamp NYPD from the color of the day, and that's how we became the color of the day in lieu of that. So go ahead, Kevin. I apologize. I just wanted to get that in because
that's good. You're all good. Look, Diana threw in there something. I can't co-sign on this. They didn't. He would have heard it. You can't say that. You've ever been woken up in the middle of the night? You're not fully coherent always. Does it mean that he heard? Does it mean he understood? Does it mean he knew what was said? No. And could it mean they didn't say it? Of course it could mean they didn't say it. Like, I'm not sitting here telling you there's no way, no ands, just the bets, the cops screamed it. They could not, they might not have. I'm just going with, if they did, there is absolutely a way he could not have heard them. That's, screaming police, somebody's being woken up in the middle of the night. Who knows what the hell that guy heard, and if he heard anything. But there's always the chance they didn't. There's that. I'm not telling you there's no chance they didn't yell that. We'll go back to the beginning of this. We don't have all the facts.
No, we don't. But what I do, I beg of you to look at that video, and then we can reconvene on this conversation. Everybody out here, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I am your host, Bill Forster. That is my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. We are just talking about the Breonna Taylor situation. We're talking about the Attorney General and what he didn't do and what he didn't implement. We're talking about the jurors, what they said, what wasn't offered to them in lieu of prosecution. We're just talking police and politics. That it is what it is. If you like it, share it. Let the world know that what we're doing. We are YouTube Live. We are Facebook Live. Shout out to SJ Palmer. I see you on YouTube. My question is, does this happen to any of the other race? I'm sure I'm kind of late on what you were asking that question to, but SJ, if you're still listening, reply. Diana said, I heard the officer interview this morning on Good Morning America. The officer showed no remorse. That's crazy. I have it. I just posted it on my page, on the Real Talk Chronicle page. I posted it on the Bill Forster page. Anybody who has not heard it, you can go and listen to it, and we can reconvene with this conversation later. Barry said, shout out to my man, Big Barry in the building. Love you, bro. He said, here's the other question, the other big question. Why did a judge sign off on a no-knock warrant at 1 a.m.? That's another question we write. Darren Joseph said the detective came over and said it was a misunderstanding. Yeah, we got a lot going on with this case. Kevin, we need you to do your homework and catch up to these conversations because you're answering blindly from not hearing what you heard. I need you to listen to the interview of Kenny Walker, and I need you to listen to the interview of Detective the Sergeant Manley, and we will definitely pick this up next week at one point in our conversations. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. That's Kevin Branzetti. I am your host, Bill Foster. That's my co-host. We are out here just chopping it up. We just on a Wednesday night. Uh, how are you all doing? This is something big. I appreciate Kevin for always giving his insight. We talked about blue, about the disparity between people of color in their profession. We talked about Breonna Taylor. We talked about Amadou Diallo. We talked about Sean Bell. We talked about Kevin and I have worked with Kenny Boss that he was. I know his, in law terminology, he's called Kenneth Boss, but we always know him about Kenny Boss. He was got caught up in some stuff on 19th Street with the Johnson brothers. Got his almost gun taken then, but Kenny Boss was Kenny Boss and how he interacted with people back then. We're talking about an unarmed black man being shot. Diallo. I was there that night. It's crazy. Kevin has come out and said, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, that numbers don't matter in certain instances. It's just the fact that certain things were not just. So basically, like he said, it wasn't the fact that Diallo was killed by 41 bullets; it was the fact that he was killed. I just want to make sure I'm saying correctly, right?
You are.
Okay. I don't know how any of you feel about that. But we can talk about excessive force. 41 is excessive when with no gun.
So Bill, if you tell me they fired 5 times and killed him, are you okay with him being killed?
Not at all.
When you thought that their shooting, you understood why they weren't convicted and were okay with it?
No, I don't.
If they shot 5 times and killed him, would you have been okay with it?
No, not at all.
So the number didn't matter as much.
So
the number sounds more, right?
I understand that. I totally understand that. But do you understand the outrage from 41 to 5?
Yeah. Of course.
So
I understand perception of it. I'm just telling you as a member of law enforcement, like the number isn't what I focus on. If there's a stop and reload, that's a different animal to me, right? So but trigger control right. and unleash. I'm telling you, the majority of people who unleash their entire magazine don't realize they did it.
Sean Bell's in situation, there was a stop and reload.
Yeah, that's different, completely.
So what's your take on that?
Sean Bell's the guy in the car, right, trying to run the undercover over.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like right on the academy test. You don't shoot a car. Right? Like, there's only one test in the police department that you have to score 100 on in the academy, the justifiable shooting, whatever they call it, test. That's one of those questions. It's in our patrol guide. You don't shoot a car. It works great. It works great in the movies. You shoot the front driver's side tire, the car always flips over you. You will never hit you. I've seen it 1,000 times. It doesn't work on the street
all the time. I don't watch like crime shows and shit because shooting at cars and all that. I those things will never happen if you shoot unless he's trying to hit you and run you over and I'm working. I'm gonna bust some caps in his ass. But the bottom line is, you're not supposed to shoot at a fleeing felon. You're not supposed to shoot at a fleeing felon. You're not supposed to shoot at a car. That's
unless you're trapped, right? Like I have to be trapped, and I don't know what really trapped qualifies as.
Right.
But my bullet's never stomping a car. My legs getting the heck out of the way is my best safety.
Right. Shout out to T. O'Neill in the building. Tell Clyde as you affectionately called him, happy birthday to T. O'Neill, former 2A sister in the building. Susan said, "Isn't that a problem right there, though, that they didn't realize that they unloaded their magazine?" Susan, Diane said, "Numbers doesn't matter. We are taught to eliminate the threat. Once he felt the threat was gone. 41 shots, extremely excessive." Um, Barry, bottom line, these scenarios constantly play out in our urban neighborhoods, and it's always a black person who's the victim. T. O'Neill, she laughing. Yeah, Clyde. Tell Clyde I said happy birthday. Go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Kevin. You can reply to any of these.
So
Al Taylor.
not realizing. So
Hold on. Shout out to Assemblyman Al Taylor. Everybody out there, just for edification. Al Taylor.
that's
Al
what I'm.
Taylor will be having his own show, Real Talk Chronicles, with Assemblyman Al Taylor, the second Monday of every month. At the next time Al will be back, I think Al's the November 2nd, right? So he said, what'd you say, Al? The Magnum designed to stop the car engine. Exactly. That's the Clint Eastwood. I see why Kevin was laughing. Go
Uh-huh.
ahead. Shout out to
So
everybody that's
so
watching. This is Real Talk
Susan makes a
Chronicles.
comment about they didn't realize they unloaded their magazine. And I'm saying, yeah, if you've not been in a shootout in your life, you know, understanding how many bullets you fire, and there have been lots of after actions done over the years, and there's interviews of cops and interviews of other people who have gotten involved in shootouts. They don't realize the majority of the time how many rounds they fire. It's just your reflex, fear, all of those things take over. Tunnel vision, everything under the sun. The majority of these people who fire this don't know. They don't know. It's not their intent. Their intent isn't to fire all 15. They just didn't realize they did it. It's being in that fight for your life on the street. Right? Can you stop with that last punch? It's not that simple. It's just not. It doesn't
So
make
let
it
me
look
ask you a
pretty. It
question,
doesn't
Kevin.
mean it's not.
Oh, okay,
Publicly
hold
doesn't
on,
look
hold
good.
on. Stay with me, Kevin.
Sure.
Um, I've been in the martial arts 30 some odd years, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
taught certain things. We're taught combinations. I mean, as a fighter, anybody who's out there that has some kind of formal fighting, you learn combinations. You learn, right cross, left jab, elbow, whatever it is, whatever defense that you're taught, right? I think maybe you might have to elaborate on this. Some people are under the assumption that because we're law enforcement and different branches of law enforcement are taught certain tactical responses. Now, the bottom line is that we're taught when we go to the range, shoot a certain amount of times, stop, reload. We're taught shoot, stop, cut, and cover, right? We have never been taught, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going on record saying this, we've never been taught to shoot more than 15 times. Have we?
No, we're taught to shoot to end the
Threat.
threat, right? But
Exactly.
there are training things we do where it's your magazine ends. You got to put the next one in and start firing again. There are absolutely tactical things we do with that.
Yes.
But we go. Let's be honest about it, right? Our firearms training is lousy. We go twice a year.
I agree with you.
We spend the majority of our tour. What do we do with the majority of our tour sitting at the range?
Nothing.
Nothing. We sit
games.
there. We meet
games.
old friends and you sit at those picnic tables and you talk for hours. You're a martial arts guy, Bill. If you train twice a year for 20 years in martial arts, how good would you be?
Absolutely. And I no, and Kevin, I'm not disputing that. By no means am I just disputing that. But what I'm trying to say is that what you're saying is validating why people out here in the city are so confused about 41 shots, a chokehold, 31 shots, and no gun.
Mm-hmm.
These are individuals that did that. Like Diallo didn't have a gun 41 times. Sean Bell 31 times. He didn't have a gun. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so what I'm trying to say is that we're talking about fear. And we're talking about tactical training. Like I said, as a martial artist, let me tell you something. I've been in enough altercations in the Bronx, working in narcotics, where I fought individuals, and I never and there's a part right now that I will say that I touched a dude one time and I knocked his ass out. Right when the other officer went to cuff him, he was so scared what was happening. He said, "Yo, he's not giving me his hands." And I told him, I said, "Yo, dude, I can't touch him no more with all these people watching." You understand what I'm saying? But the thing is, I didn't throw multiple combinations. I threw enough combinations. And now, don't get me wrong. Maybe you and I, we're different animals in this game. I say all that with all respect to not everybody that's watching and to law enforcement. But listen, we're cut from a different cloth. But the thing is, people take like we have a military that take a war that fight to protect us if in war. And shout out to Al Taylor, who was a former military person. Al, I always told you always welcome to chime in with this. That who made this, but I was just reading something. But when people are in combat and war, we lose a lot of people from friendly fire. It has not been proven yet, and we're going back to Breonna Taylor, that they are shot. He was shot by Kenny Walker's gun.
But
It's
Kenny
not been
Walker's gun
proven.
was proven it was fired.
No, but he's admitted to that.
Yeah.
But it
Did he
has
admit
not
that he
come out.
fired? Did he admit that he fired first?
Yes.
Game on. Unfortunately, like I just think it's and I hate to use even like that phrase sounds kind of cocky and stupid. Don't take it that way. But that's it. He fired first. They fired back. Tragedy. Complete tragedy. Now we need to tear this thing apart. Like I said, did the cop lie for the affidavit? Fucking lock him up if he did. Did they not do proper things? Look, NYPD and just in our lifetime being there changed the procedure for search warrants, right? The overview. Is that what they need to do? Clearly, everybody should have it. When we've talked about this, Bill, we need better standards across the country, right? We should all, one department should make a mistake and 1,000 departments should learn from it. Right. We don't all make these same. They made we've had these mistakes in our department, but he fired first. Right. I can't argue with the cops firing back at him. Now, if they paused, if they took a break, they got cover, and then 30 seconds later, one popped up and started firing again, I got an issue with that. Right? But the initial barrage, how many guys went in there with the warrant? How many of them are firing? The fact that one of them didn't shoot one of the other cops in the back of the head is effing amazing to me.
Let me ask you a question, and this is a hypothetical, and I'm saying, shout out to Vanetta in the building. The officers didn't announce themselves when they asked who was it. He said he had the right to fire if he felt someone was invading his home.
I agree. I'm
exactly.
My argument at the moment is, I believe he didn't hear him, and I believe he thought he was being burglarized or robbed. I don't disagree with that. I don't think he thought it was cops. And that's also why, in the end, he's not charged.
Yeah,
right? But if he says he thought it was the cops coming and he fired, he deserves to go to jail.
And shout out to Al Taylor. Al Taylor said, this is accountability. Shout out failure to identify themselves. Diana said, clearly they didn't recon the location. Exactly. They sure didn't. We know that was a failure and they hold the part. So that's why I'm saying, when we talk about what the Attorney General didn't do and take all the facts, because the bottom line is this was definitely negligent on the officer's part to do his duty as a police officer and do it and executing the search warrant. Mattingly said a grand jury. Let me just read something in regards to what the sergeant that spoke on Fox talked about. He said Madeline and another officer, Miles Cockroach, fired into the apartment from entry after Taylor's current boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, shot Madeline in the leg. They keep saying this. I'm saying this now. They keep saying this, but it wasn't proven yet. Walker said,
"Well, if if the cops are saying that, like with only one round went, it hit them. One cop dropped and they started firing.
Yeah, but we
I mean,
haven't got ballistics. We haven't got ballistics back yet.
Yeah, but that's why the ballistics, if they have ballistics, have to be back, right? They may not exist.
No,
because
no,
the round goes
listen,
through them. It was gone. Is the round lost?
If I got a bullet in my ass, take the bullet out my ass and test it to your gun. If your gun say Bill's ass, bullet to my ass, then that's what it is. So the bottom line is he wasn't charged. So let's stay with the facts on that one. So current boyfriend Kenneth Walker shot Madeline in the leg. Walker said he thought an intruder had come through the door. Taylor was shot 5 times and died at the scene. Again, a grand jury last month charged a third officer who also fired his gun with endangering Taylor's neighbors. I didn't write this, I'm reading it. Taylor's neighbors, but none of the 3 were charged in Taylor's death. On Tuesday, an anonymous grand juror won a court battle to speak publicly and said the panel was not given the option to consider charges related to Taylor's death because prosecutors believed the officer was justified in using force. This is where the problem, I'm saying now, this is where the problem arises. Mattingly, 44, said the protests and media reports that the shooting unfairly compared Taylor's death to the slaying of George Floyd in Minnesota and Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia. It's not a race thing like people wanted to try to make it to be. It's not, he said. This is not us going hunting somebody down. This is not kneeling on the neck. It's nothing like that. Floyd died May 25th after Minneapolis police officer kneeled on his neck for more than 8 minutes. Arbery was fatally shot by 2 white men while Arbery was jogging in the neighborhood on February 23rd. Malin said misinformation about the March 13th shooting spread rapidly and said city and police leaders should have acted more swiftly to dispel false narratives about the incident, including the police were at the wrong house and that Taylor was sleeping in her bed was shot. She was shot. People, I posted this on my Facebook page, Bill Forster's Facebook page, my Real Talk Chronicles page. This is this. We can convene and come back to this. Let me just read some comments real quick, Kevin, unless you want to read them for me. Barry said, here's another crazy situation where Eric Gardner was choked to the death. Not one person in law enforcement at the scene immediately administered CPR. His life could have been saved. Every cop was let me I'm trying to hit on it. I'm sorry. Every cop was hold on. I'm trying to get it. I'm going to get it. I'm not going to get it because I'm using my Sharpie to point it. Let's see. Every cop was complacent in their non-action to act. Vanetta said he was defending himself. If the cops would have announced themselves in capital letters announced, this would have been a different situation. I watched the video of the boyfriend and I was so angered and enraged. I know, Vanetta, this crap happened over 7 months ago. This is nonsense. Exactly, an intruder. Any responses, comments, Kevin? Go ahead, brother. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Sorry about that.
That's
so
all
I go
right.
to with the Eric Garner one, the cops not helping him. I have an issue with that. I had an issue with that since day one. He laid on that floor. I think it was 9 minutes, if I recall correctly. Worker who was there, and she kind of nonchalantly helped him too. Right? I get look the takedown. Get him cuffed. If he's in distress, you got to help him. It's. I don't know what happens to the humanity in that one, right? Like I can't picture, 6, 7 of us 20 years ago, Bill, just standing around watching. And the guy's clearly in distress, right? Like
what happened? It would never happen.
Yeah, was he a pain in the ass? Maybe you didn't like the guy. Whatever it is, none of this is freaking personal. There are plenty of people on the street who give
right.
you lip, who give you cuffs on, game over. He's a human being, and should he have been helped? Yeah. Could those cops perform CPR? Not me. I barely passed the CPR test in the academy, right? And does it mean I'm good at it and use it? No. Did they call EMS? EMS was there a long time from my end, what I remember the original video, and they weren't helping him. But sit the guy up. But I have an issue with that, right?
Yeah, no.
But I'll still go to you. I don't have the takedown. Have we ever jumped the guy from behind like that? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. We have.
Yeah.
You can't say. I can't sit here and say I haven't. And I can't say I haven't done worse. I think the situation. We could talk about Pontaneo or jumping the gun. The bottom line is we see those officers. They didn't want that smoke. The bottom line is Eric Gardner. Did he resist arrest? Yes, he did. There's a lot of things, loopholes in that, but of course he did not deserve to die. And the bottom line is that could have been handled totally differently. Plantanero, whatever his name is, he didn't have to jump on him and take him down. He wanted to do that. That was his thing, and he did it, and it led to his demise. The point that Eric Gardner said that y'all, I'm tired of y'all harassing me, and it's going to stop today. Is resisting, is a threat, but I think somebody like Kevin and myself would have handled that totally differently.
I actually think we would have. I think we would have just tackled him, Bill, and he would have gotten cuffs, but we would have gotten him out of there.
But when I say totally differently, I don't think when I say totally differently, I'm not saying he wouldn't have been arrested. I'm just saying he would. I'm under an assumption, depending on I don't know his heart rate and things of that magnitude.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that it wouldn't if God forbid if he would have died, he would not have died because he was choked or assumed to be in a chokehold. He might have died because I may have pushed him or punched him and he hit his head or fell back. You know what I'm saying? Then oh shit, shame on me, right? But what I'm trying to say is that he would not have died from a chokehold, and that's what I'm.
He wouldn't have died there laying on the sidewalk for 9 minutes.
Absolutely.
But like Bill, we were taught to get them out fast. Like I'm not going to sit there and argue with you on the street, right?
No,
one time I'm going to tell you 2 times. I normally didn't tell you 3, right? 2 and it was on.
Well, we didn't give those kind of numbers up. You listen. First, I told you,
not a debate.
Yo, listen, put your hands behind your back. I already known if you wasn't giving me your hands, either I'm taking them or we fighting. I knew that. So it's a whole different thing. Diana said there was not enough experienced officers or supervisors on that scene.
100%, Diana.
Exactly.
See, we can agree on something.
Mm-hmm. Barry said, here's another crazy part of the case. The individual that they were looking for in this warrant was not in the residence. He was incarcerated, and the situation should have never happened. You're right. That's why. Let me ask you a question before we close out. The fact that is very important. Like any charges should have been brought against that officer. The fact that listen, certain things. Like they dropped the ball on a lot of things, man.
It seems that way, right? There's 2 incidents here. We have to separate. One, the obtaining of the warrant and what was done, the work on that, and that to me, what we know doesn't look good. Then there's the actual physical entry of the warrant. Bill, how many warrants did you go on? You're not the affiant of the warrant. You're part of the field team. The overwhelming majority, because this field team's big, right?
Let me tell you something. I've been on over 30, 40 search warrants. I've never was the AO, but
okay. So you're in the field team, right? You go in, we're taking the door, shots fired, it's on. And that's what happened. So there's the incident post-warrant and incident pre-warrant. If the pre-warrant is the cops made mistakes, we're fine. But if they lied,
hold on, Kev. Let me ask you a question.
That's criminal.
Let me ask you a question, though, and this is what I gotta say. You can say, I've said I've been over like 30 search warrants, right? You've been on a countless search warrants. Kevin, how do I go into an apartment and I got officers aligned in front of me and they shoot and I shoot? I mean, like, I don't get that. Where am I situated where I'm shooting two and they shooting?
So
Like,
it's 3 cops who shot, right?
yeah, go ahead.
And one's charged. So only 2 shooting seem to have been righteous in shooting, right? And that's reasonable,
Mm-hmm.
right? The the first 2 guys firing. Look, we're taught where there's the bunker, there's the command and control,
Bunker, cuff and toss.
and then there's other members. I'm like, yeah, field team people, right? And only one person's talking. The person behind the bunker is the only one talking. But this is all, how many warrants did you go on and it went haywire? Did you ever have ones go? I had one with a guy, and he's the same guy who had the shootout with himself. I mean, he was the ram. The guy who rams the door is supposed to ram the door and step to the side. This guy rammed the door and ran right through the apartment. But he hit the door with the ram. He had so much momentum, he wound up in the back room. But like, it gets a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But I still want to go back to the warrant. There's 2 separate things. If they did something wrong to criminal beforehand, that's still different than the team going in that door. The team going in that door is not responsible for. I never read a search warrant. I was, I'm the detective. I'm told today I'm the bunker. I'm the bunker, right? And that's it. So I'm in there. If somebody's firing at me, I'm firing back.
Yeah.
So there's 2 different things. Now I'll still say it. If that cop lied under oath, lock him up.
Absolutely. Everybody, this is Kevin Branzetti. I am your host, Bill Forster. That's my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. This is Real Talk Chronicles. If you like it, share it. We are just talking about so many different things within law enforcement. This is our law enforcement segment, and we just chop it up. Shout out to everybody that's watching and kicking it with us. Before we go, I'm going to let Diana ask you one more question. She said, Kevin, nothing personal. I commend you. I honestly do. We are tough. We are a tough group. Though it is all
through it all, you stand your ground.
Through it all, is stand your ground. Bravo. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Shout out to D.
But
Sister, one day we're gonna have to get you on the show so you can kick it with us. Maybe next Wednesday if you want to. You're more than welcome. Shout out to Al Taylor, Barry. So many of you just chimed in and watching. Shout out to the people that have chimed in. Shout out to the Ghost Watchers. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. If you like it, share it. That's Kevin Branzetti. I'm your host, Bill Forster. That's my co-host. We'll come back next week. We're coming on our 2-hour. Shout out to my family, Darnell Green in the building. I just saw you chime in. You're gonna have to go back and watch it. What we're doing next week when we come back, we will talk. We will pick up on this. We will definitely talk about politics again. We will talk about Breonna Taylor. May she rest in peace, George Floyd, all the people that have lost their lives due to police violence, to police killings, maybe not justified, or maybe have been deemed justified, but by society, they're not deemed justified. Please get out and vote. Vote, 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 vote. It's coming up November 3rd. I think we're 2 weeks away. I think there's another presidential debate coming up, right? Kevin, you got any things you want to say before we chime off?
Well, quickly, Diana, thank you. Right? Like we could sit here and we can disagree. And this is, to me and to Bill, what this is all about, right? We disagree, Absolutely. We talk, and we walk away still, shaking hands from a distance kind of deal.
Absolutely.
And that's what I've talked about earlier, right? This is my problem with today's politics, with today's everything. We don't do this. We can all disagree, but we respect each other and we respect human life. And that's the most important part.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any words of wisdom before we chime off, brother?
So, like a couple of things I always give. One I always give, take a break. Spend Sundays, if that's your day, get the heck off the internet, get away from the news, take a break. This is some crazy times. I think we're all going to be in for a roller coaster of a November.
Oh my God, we will have a lot to talk about in November, bro.
I don't think November 3rd is going to decide anything. I don't care. Look, I'm looking from my perspective. I told you, my daytime job is violent extremists. High alert is what we're on at this point, and looking for things out there. Take a break, take a deep breath.
Absolutely.
Play with your kids, call your mom, spend the day hiking.
Yeah,
it'll still be there the next day.
Absolutely.
One day in the game or one day out of the game isn't going to change anything.
Absolutely.
Except for your personal health.
Absolutely. I want to shout out to the former NYPD officers that have chimed in tonight. We appreciate you so much. Shout out to my martial arts family that have chimed in. Shout out to our former 2A people that have chimed in. Finlace and Tommy, you and Harold, maybe we can get y'all to come in. Diane, if y'all want to, y'all can come in next week. Kevin and I, we can talk with you guys and we can just talk shop. If you want to, like Kevin always says, I always ask it people all the time, right? Whether you want to or not, it's on you. But the invitation is always there from now until infinity. That's what it is. Vanetta, I see. Go ahead, Kev. Go ahead.
What we need one of these weeks is getting a cop from a smaller police department. Bill and I have a different opinion of things and different insight. We never worked a single man car.
No.
Right. I never did a car stop on the side of a highway where my friends were 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I'd love to hear from, the perspective of a cop who's worked that lifestyle.
Well, let's work on that. Let's see if we can get somebody like that. Maybe I got to reach out to my man Cornelius Parks. He's in I think, what is it? Not Minnesota, Minneapolis, Mississippi. He's in Mississippi. I may have to reach out to see if I can get him. I see you, Maria. How you doing, sister? Appreciate you. Yeah, Colin. Yeah, Colin, please reach out to me tomorrow, my brother. It's always a respect. Big Colin's in the building. Great idea, Kevin. That's what Diane said. Yeah, bingo, Vanetta. Exactly. This is what we're doing. This is Real Talk Chronicles. Listen, everybody, real talk is real talk. So if you got somebody that you know, please channel them towards me. Tell them to send me a friend request. Inbox me, either Bill Forster. You can even inbox Kevin Branzetti if you want to. You can inbox Real Talk Chronicles. I have my own Facebook page. I have my like page of Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. This is Real Talk Chronicles. This is on the 2-hour swing of things. That is Kevin Branzetti. We had a good show tonight. We appreciate you all for chiming in, watching us. Kevin, before we go, you can say goodbye. You can say hi. You can say whatever you want.
Well, a couple of quick things, right? One, just so everybody knows, Bill does not give me any warning or ideas of what we're going to discuss. This is all, on the spot. So there's no prep. There's no, hey, Kevin, here's a couple of things you might want to prepare yourself. It's on tonight. This is just me and Bill talking. That's really how this works. And this is like it was 25 years ago for us.
Exactly. And just for everybody out there to understand, with Real Talk Chronicles, the whole gift and gist of what Real Talk Chronicles is that the organic aspect of what we talk about. There isn't anything scripted. I don't give anybody a scripted show, because the bottom line is I really ask questions off the cuff, and depending on whom you are is what you get. Right, Al Taylor? Real talk all the time. Vanetta, do you know any cops in Long Island? I'll ask. Maria, I'm working the early election with Bruce Moore this Friday for 9 days. Well, yeah, definitely. Everybody, please get out there to vote. Please vote, 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 vote. Early elections. It is not a game. That's Kevin Branzetti. I'm Bill Forster. We'll stay here and talk to you more often. You kill us right now. We're going to go right now so we can go and do our things. Right? Shout out to everybody. Al Taylor. He'll be back with you. Real Talk with Al Taylor, Assemblyman Al Taylor. Real Talk with Allison Williams. This Tuesday coming up, Real Talk with Malika Vaughn Forster. I will be interviewing her on small businesses and how we interact with that. I'm your host, Bill Foster, y'all. That's Kevin Branzetti. Respect. See y'all later.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.